there is a complete misunderstanding about how things functioned, especially in the words of trade and officializing in the African kingdoms. Now, there is a word that a lot of people already know about, and that word is nganga. This word means mythological or herbalist or healer or any of those, and it also means moon. The reason why this word is important is because a lot of people think it means that this person is purely magic and he deals strictly with magic or even herbs or medicine or stuff like that. But in almost all the Bantu regions, this word is used in conjunction with other words, such words that we do not need to bring up at this moment, except we need to bring up what their task was. When it comes to tasks about contracts and how and who will keep the information of the state, these people were actually the officializers. And so, if someone was to go into a contract with someone, or maybe if they were to do battle in a sophisticated way, so in other words, they ask permission, they would go to these people and ask for permission. If you wanted to go to, if you wanted to get married, if you wanted anything, the people would have to go check if you were allowed.
each nail. And also, it was not just among the cases could be like a contract. Like if you and I, we have business together, we need to sign a contract. You can go see the Nganga. We need to sign a contract, and the Nkisi will be the witness. So you swear enough. You go to the Nkisi, you swear enough, and you have the two parties. Sometimes in the nail, you take a little bit of your saliva, you put on the nail, or sometimes people take the hair, both of you. If you need a contract, you have dealing business together, you have to take a piece of your hair, you put together, and then the, um, the Nganga will take that and say again, you swear enough, nobody can break the contract. If you break the contract, something bad is going to happen to you. And they put ban. And whoever's going to break the contract, the Nkisi will come for you.
Now, remember, at a time where there was no Christianity, there was officializing. So, if you compare it to Christianity, the pastors and priests and bishops and all of those, they don't only deal with the spiritual. Of course, they have to officialize marriages and they have to do other things like officialize kings and stuff like that. But in the case of these people, it wasn't mere marriages and stuff like that. They would have to officialize a whole bunch of things. In fact, like I said, these people, they worshipped birds and bird sounds. And so you would have to go ask these people if the birds have made the right music for them to go to war. And if they made the wrong sound, you don't go to war. If they made the right sound, you go to war. Something that people didn't even know. Now, in the Kingdom of Congo, we know that this was a fact because it's written about by both African and European scholars who were surprised to see that these people would change at the tone of a bird. Now, it's not all wizards and warlocks, it's not magic and mysteries. A lot of these things are very a religious, just a system happening from one point to the other. And in all of their concepts, these people would become, well, I guess, rich, considering what rich meant back then. Because, of course, if you're going to make a contract and you're going to rely on these people, at first you're going to have to give some kind of offering, usually in the point of Lumache, the money at the time in the Kingdom of Congo. To compare them to an Egyptian deity like Thoth, we have to look at what was the position of these people. So, for example, Thoth, unknown to people outside of Egypt, was a documentation person or a choreographer. I think that's what they call it. He would show up in certain locations, as you can see in walls, and document what happened. and they can bring the information back later. And in the same way as that person in that video explained, the Ngisi was the Kingdom of Congo's version, which is only one. Several people in Zambia have their own way. People in Kenya, people in Zimbabwe, they have their own way of documenting things. But in the Ngisi, it was statues and nails that would be hammered in, and then you'd go, okay, this nail belongs to this person, and this one belongs to this person, and they would be with the contract of remembering when everything happened. They would have to remember. So, for example, let's say me and somebody went to this person, he would grab a statue or a little wooden box, and then he'd say, are you going to keep your promise to do this, this, and that? And then they'd ask the other person, and when we both say yes, they would then take both of our hair and then put it in this container. And obviously, there'll be other signifiers so that they can remember, like a insignia or something. And then they would keep it. And so later, even years later, they could bring it back and go, okay, this is your insignia, this is your hair. Thinking about this today, it should shock us or even amaze us that the way a lot of these African religions are treated is that there was no secular side to it, in that it was all magic and no practicality. I mean, obviously, we can see that one of the practicalities was the making of wooden structures or the making of certain things that people call art, but I guess to those people they wouldn't necessarily be called art, not in the way that art is called in Europe. Like if art, according to the Greeks, is about mimicking the world, African art definitely was not about that, because the world, they sort of play with it and they care more about the emotional state than they care about the actual state of the thing presently in real life. Now, in the Kingdom of Congo, we know that the original people or the original art that was used for medicines and contracts was Nkisi. Nkisi meaning, well, let's not worry about the meaning. Nkisi having to do with medicines and stuff like that, but also to do with contracts. And because of this, it's a unique thing that was then added to the religion of Christianity when Christianity was adopted. The word Nkisi today, in places where it used to exist, like Congo, started to mean witchcraft. In other words, the religion had completely been decimated and it had nothing to do with that. Now it was all God and Christianity. And this was seen as evil, which is sad considering where they started and how they started. And even the Christians from the early day weren't as violent against the original religion, even though they were pretty violent. Well, if these people were the officials of the Kingdom of Congo, then how did they take it when they converted to Christianity and abandoned all mythology and structure from the previous world? Well, that is where the story really starts.